So 2 years ago, I started Coffee with Craft, my podcast. I don't have a good place to set my coffee, speaking of. We're just going to set it on the floor. So I started this show 2 years ago. And the show came at a time when my life changed dramatically. I left a job that I thought I would stay at for a very long time, and I found myself back in Cincinnati in a new apartment, and I found myself in a new job, and I found myself questioning and wondering and pondering about life, and I wanted a way to express this pent-up thing that was just building inside of me. And so Coffee with Craft started, but the backstory of that is that Coffee with Craft wasn't always Coffee with Craft. You see, I had bought the Blue Yeti microphone that I record every single episode of my podcast about a year earlier, and I had toyed around with this idea and been toying around and getting used to recording and hearing my voice over audio and things of that nature. And it first started as this idea called Caffeine Now, Talk Later, which actually comes from a cup I own. This cup, this blue cup, Caffeine Now, Talk Later, I bought it at Target, of all places, because of course I have a Target addiction like any millennial. And the show started as this idea of just wanting to have a podcast where I was just talking with my friends and processing life and processing things, but I had no clear, real direction in where I wanted the show to go. And then all of a sudden, I find myself in this new apartment. I find myself in this new place. And I just wanted to create something. I felt like I needed to create something. And so I had a really crappy living room table at the time. I opened my laptop up. I opened the microphone, the recording software I was using at the time, which wasn't any good recording software. And I literally hit record with no plan, no roadmap, nothing. And Coffee with Craft was born. With no plan, no roadmap, just me hitting record. And I remember that day that I first released it, I was so nervous and scared for a multitude of reasons. What are people going to think of me? That's a huge insecurity I've dealt with for a long part of my life. What do people think of me? I've struggled with the idea of who am I to create something. I struggled with just a bunch of different things of what are people going to perceive this as? Is this going to be Eric's attempt to get famous? It's not, by the way. All that kind of stuff. And I really, I struggled with this insecurity, and then I just put it out into the void. And then the first thing I was met with, surprisingly, was this overwhelming sense of acceptance and love from people who wanted to support me, who wanted to champion me, and who came alongside the journey with me. And that was huge. I can't say there hasn't been criticism. There hasn't been people who have talked bad, both behind my back and in front of my face, about the podcast and about me having a podcast. I've heard it, I've experienced it. But that is so small compared to the overwhelming support that I've found. And with the lack of frequent uploads, we've somehow managed in 27 episodes to reach 1,500 downloads, which is crazy. Because honestly, when I put the first episode of Coffee with Craft out, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect it to go more than three episodes. I didn't expect it to ever be anything good or meaningful or impactful, or that I would get messages from people saying that my podcast has helped them, or that I would be in a position where I would pay a lot of money this quarantine period of life to want to revamp it. When I started, the only amount of money I put into it was the microphone that I bought for $100. That was it. And then I made a graphic in Canva The first Coffee with Craft graphic was made in Canva. It was real bad. It was a Canva template, and it was just there. I printed stickers of it for like $3. That was kind of cool. And I just gave those out to people who wanted stickers, and that was fun. But then I started putting out episodes again, and I kind of hit episode 27, and episode 27 was really good, and I liked it a lot. And the episodes before that were also really good, and I kind of hit this stride right around episode 19, I think, maybe a little before, where the podcast just really started to become something different, become something more meaningful. And for 27 episodes, I was looking for my voice. I was looking for the story I wanted to tell. Because the stories we tell matter and are important. I believe that firmly. And so, Coffee with Craft took a pause after episode 27 because I wanted to figure out, how do I take this in a direction that's meaningful? And then COVID happened, right? Like coronavirus came out of nowhere and like kicked us all. Well, we thought 2020 was going to be like our year, and then we got like destroyed. And that sucked, and that was hard. And so you had all these things kind of compound. And then my personal life was also kind of difficult. Like I had some stuff going on at work that I had to work through with my student ministry that was good stuff to work through, but was also hard stuff to work through, and took time to like get through it. And so that put a damper on some creative stuff for me. And then coronavirus happened, and I found my life switching and my job role kind of changing for my church and things of that nature. And I found myself probably in April missing creating the show because people forgot what it meant to listen to one another. People forgot what it meant to sit down with a friend and have a cup of coffee and have a chat about life and come to an understanding even amidst disagreements. People forgot what it meant to value the story of one another, and instead we just started hating each other. We started being jerks to each other online. We started being I can't get on Facebook or Twitter nowadays. It seems like without like something just being broken and people being mean and vindictive. And I hate that narrative. And so I began this work on asking myself this question: what do I want Coffee with Craft to be? What do I want it to look like in the future? And it came down to this one sentence: that Coffee with Craft is a show where we have intentional conversations with one another like you would with a friend over coffee. Because when you meet a friend for coffee or a beer or lunch or dinner or whatever, when you meet a friend to have a conversation about something, and you have something as simple as a cup of coffee in front of you, barriers seem to break down a little easier. That's why I love in scripture, Jesus kind of in the book of Luke especially goes from meal to meal to meal. And as you see Jesus going from meal to meal to meal, you see these barriers between people breaking down and being more open to hearing the gospel. And I believe there's a reason Jesus did that around the table, and he ate with people, because around the table together, there's a communal sense that's brought into it. And that's what I want Coffee with Craft to be, is I want it to be a community, a communal place of people working together to figure out what our life stories are, what we can learn from each other, and how we can grow as individuals. And so that's the direction the show is going starting this year. And I can't wait to see what happens. So I hope you join me for this journey. It's gonna be a wild one. We've got 20 amazing episodes in the pipeline for you. I can't wait to share them with you. So grab a cup of coffee and have a seat with me on the Coffee with Craft podcast. I'll see you next time.